All right, let's just jump right in. Today we're digging into a really deep question, one that comes from a sermon by Pastor James Knight. Why? Why do we do the good things we do? Is it for other people, for ourselves, or is it for an audience of one?
So, to get us started, let's talk about a super modern problem, something I guarantee you've seen scrolling online. Those videos of people doing these big, grand acts of charity, all perfectly filmed, of course.
And yeah, that brings us right to the heart of the matter. Pastor Knight pointed to this YouTube trend where creators film themselves giving food to the homeless. Now on the surface, that seems great, right? But it really forces you to ask, if the camera wasn't on, would that good deed still happen?
And you can really see the two sides of the coin here. On one side, you have what you could call altruistic clickbait, where the whole point is getting views. But then there's the other side. In his sermon, Pastor Knight told this incredible story about a man who was secretly filmed after someone gave him some money. And with no clue anyone was watching, what did he do? He immediately went and bought food and shared it with the other people in his homeless camp. He did it just because, well, because it was the right thing to do.
You know what's crazy is, this whole dilemma, it's not new, not by a long shot. It's a question about the heart that was tackled almost 2,000 years ago in one of the most famous teachings of all time. Let's see how this all connects.
And here it is, straight from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. I mean, it's about as direct a warning as you can get. The problem isn't the righteousness itself. It's that little phrase right at the end, the motivation to be seen by them.
And Jesus doesn't just leave it there. He gives a couple of really clear examples of what not to do. He says, when you give, don't make a huge production out of it, sound a trumpet. And when you pray, don't do it on some busy street corner just so everyone can see how holy you are.
So, let's be super clear. The point isn't that giving or praying is bad. Of course not. We're supposed to do those things. But Jesus is going so much deeper here. He's showing us that why you do something matters just as much, maybe even more, than what you do.
Okay, so this brings us to this huge, game-changing idea that really reframes everything. If you're not supposed to be performing for all the people around you, then who is your audience? The answer is so simple, but it's incredibly profound.
It's this concept of having an audience of one. It's the principle of living your life, doing your thing, as if God is the only one watching you. It's about taking your focus off the horizontal, what everyone else thinks, and pointing it vertical, straight to your relationship with God.
And to really get our heads around this, Pastor Knight poses this really thought-provoking question. Think about it. We know about Jesus' birth, and we know about his last 3 years of ministry. But what about all those years in between? What was the Son of God doing when nobody was taking notes?
And the answer? Well, the Bible is silent. And that silent speaks volumes, doesn't it? For literally decades, Jesus lived a life full of purpose and obedience to God, all without any public fanfare. His life wasn't some performance. It was real, and it was lived for his Father. And it wasn't just Jesus either. Think about most of the apostles. We hear tons about Peter and Paul, but what about guys like Bartholomew or Thaddeus? We know from history they went on to do these amazing things, but the Bible doesn't give us a list of their accomplishments. Why not? Because it was never about them. The message they were carrying was way, way more important than them getting personal credit for it.
This famous line from John the Baptist, it just sums it all up, right? The whole goal is to get out of the spotlight so that Christ can be seen more clearly through you. Your own ambitions decrease so his will can increase.
All right, so let's try to land the plane here. How does this actually play out in our day-to-day lives? Well, it all comes down to a really important distinction.
And there's a really fine line we have to walk here. A huge difference between two things. The problem is seeking attention. That's when your goal, the reason you do something, is to get praise and headlines for yourself. But receiving attention, that's totally different. In a world that's often pretty dark, when you do good things, people might notice. That can be an unavoidable byproduct, but it was never, ever your goal. And Jesus couldn't be more direct about what's at stake. He says if the applause from other people is the reward you're after, well, then that's the only reward you're going to get. You've been paid in full, and there's nothing left for you from your Father in heaven. So at the end of the day, it really all boils down to one thing. The goal isn't to live a life that's worthy of likes or shares or public praise. The ultimate goal is to live a life that's worthy of God, period. He's your focus, he's your motivation, and he's your audience of one.
And that leaves us with a pretty challenging question, one to really chew on. If all the cameras were off, all the phones were put away, and not a single soul on earth would ever know, what good would you still do? What's left when your only audience is an audience of one?